Adaptations. What do porcupines, sea urchins, and cacti have in common? Not the environment in which they live. Porcupines live in the forest. Sea urchins live in shallow ocean water, and cacti live in the desert. The answer is that they all have spines. And they have those spines for the same reason. Spines improve the organism's chances of survival. Any structure or behavior that improves an organism's chances for survival is an adaptation. All organisms are able to survive, reproduce, and grow in their environment because they have adaptations. You already know about several adaptations that crayfish have. Having pinchers is an adaptation that helps the crayfish get food. A hard shell is an adaptation that helps the crayfish defend itself against predators. Molting is an adaptation for growing. Carrying eggs under the tail is an adaptation that improves the chances of raising offspring. Those are just a few of the adaptations that crayfish have for living in their environment. Adaptations for movement. Most animals move in their environment. They need to find food, escape predators, and find mates in order to survive. Birds fly. Wings and feathers are structures that allow birds to fly. Wings and feathers are adaptations. Fish swim. Fish have broad tails and fins to move them through the water. Fish have a streamlined shape. Broad tails, fins, and a streamlined shape are adaptations that allow fish to move easily through their environment. Snakes slither. Snakes have strong muscles that make waves along their bellies. They have scales that give the snake traction. The waves push the snake forward. Strong muscles and scales are adaptations that allow snakes to move through their environment. Grasshoppers walk, jump, and fly. They have walking legs for moving slowly through the grass. Grasshoppers have strong legs for jumping long distances and wings for flying. Walking legs, jumping legs, and wings are adaptations that allow grasshoppers to move through their environment in 3 different ways. Any structure or behavior of an animal that allows it to move in its environment is an adaptation for movement. What adaptations do you have for moving in your environment? Adaptations for getting food. Animals can't make their own food. They have to find and eat food to survive. Every animal has structures and behaviors for getting the food it needs to survive in its environment. Frogs eat insects. Frogs have long tongues with a sticky pad on the end. The frog shoots out its long tongue at an insect. The insect sticks to the pad. The long tongue and sticky pad are adaptations that allow frogs to catch insects to eat. Barnacles don't move to get their food. They wait for food to drift by. Barnacles have specialized rakes that wave in the water. Small organisms get caught in their rakes. Specialized rakes are adaptations that allow barnacles to get the food they need to survive in their environment. Woodpeckers eat insects in trees. They have strong, sharp beaks and strong neck muscles. Woodpeckers chip away bark and dead wood to find the insects they eat. Sharp, strong beaks and strong neck muscles are adaptations that allow woodpeckers to get food in their environment. Butterflies eat nectar from flowers. To reach into deep, narrow flowers, a butterfly has a long, straw-like mouth called a proboscis. The proboscis is an adaptation that allows the butterfly to get food. Any structure or behavior of an animal that allows it to get food in its environment is an adaptation for feeding. What adaptations do you have for getting food? Adaptations for protection. Both plants and animals need to protect themselves from predators and weather. Every successful plant and animal has adaptations for defending itself. Spiny pufferfish are small and swim slowly. They would make an easy meal for larger fish. But this kind of pufferfish is covered with structures called spines. When it is threatened, the fish puffs up. Spines and the ability to puff are adaptations that protect the spiny pufferfish. These structures and puffing behavior allow the fish to survive in its environment. Butterflies don't have spines. They can't fly fast, but some of them have colors and patterns that help them to blend in with their environment. Blending is called camouflage. Camouflage is an adaptation that protects this butterfly from predators in its environment. Tortoises stay safe by wearing armor. Their hard shells are difficult for a predator to break into. A hard shell is a very effective form of protection. A hard shell is an adaptation to keep the tortoise safe from predators. Milkweed plants have poisonous sap. Most animals that try to eat milkweed plants get sick. Poisonous sap is an adaptation that protects the milkweed plant from being eaten by hungry animals. Sea otters live in the cold coastal waters of North America. The sea otter's dense fur traps a layer of air. Water cannot get to the sea otter's skin. It stays warm in the icy water. Thick, waterproof fur is an adaptation that protects the sea otter from the cold in its environment. Adaptations for reproduction. Every kind of plant and animal must reproduce. Every organism has adaptations that allow it to produce offspring. Some organisms spend a lot of time raising and caring for their offspring. Other organisms spend no time raising offspring. The method of reproduction that works for one kind of organism will not work for another kind of organism. Every organism has its own adaptations for reproduction. Dandelions are successful plants. Each plant produces hundreds or thousands of seeds. Each seed has a puff of down to carry it on the wind to a new location. Once the seeds blow away, they are on their own. The dandelion's adaptation for reproduction is to produce many seeds. The grebe is a water bird. The female lays eggs in a nest in the marsh. When the chicks hatch, they follow their mother as they find food. When they get tired, they climb on her back and snuggle down under her feathers. The behavior of protecting the chicks is an adaptation that helps the baby grebes survive. Bees are social insects. They live in colonies of thousands of workers. Workers build six-sided wax cells. The queen bee lays one egg in each cell. When the egg hatches, the worker bees feed and care for the growing larvae. When the larvae are full grown, the workers cover the cells with wax. In a few days, the adult bees come out, ready to go to work. Feeding and caring for the young is an adaptation that improves the bee colony's chances of survival. Human babies are helpless when they are born. They grow and learn slowly. Human parents must spend years raising their offspring before the offspring are ready to go out on their own. Providing years of support and care is an adaptation that improves the chances that human offspring will survive. Organisms are adapted to live in a certain environment. An organism's adaptations don't help if an organism is not in its environment. For example, the barnacle's rake is an adaptation for getting tiny food particles in the ocean environment. The rake helps the barnacle survive. But what if the barnacle is moved to an environment that has only large food particles? The rakes won't work. The barnacle will die because it is not adapted for eating large food particles. Adaptations make it possible for many different kinds of organisms to live in the same environment. Each different organism has adaptations that allow it to use different resources in the environment. Thinking about adaptations. What is an adaptation? What are some adaptations crayfish have for survival in their environment? What are some adaptations organisms have for movement in their environment? What are some adaptations organisms have for protecting themselves in their environment? What are some adaptations organisms have for getting food in their environments? And what are some adaptations organisms have for successfully producing offspring?